Shady cat. All right, buddy. Half hour. I'll be on in a half hour.
Can we stop with the self-care weeks? Like, what if we did adult weeks instead? Think about it. Instead of laying in bed and rotting away, we literally just dedicate an entire...
Yeah, that's cool. We need that. Yeah, I agree. Cruise control would definitely come in handy. What spin tires? Team, help me out. What are they talking about? What is spin tires? Is it a different game? Don't forget to like that. Like those videos you like. Support the creators. All right, folks. The coffee's done. I understand. Anyway. Alrighty. See you guys in a couple minutes. Starting up SnowRunner.